Welcome back to the show. We're coming to you from New York. We're discussing the peaceful rise of China as it continues to see extraordinary economic growth and become more of a diplomatic superpower as well. I'm joined by Dr. Fan Gang, one of China's most influential economic advisors, and Dr. Daniel Rosen, a former top White House advisor and an expert in U.S.-China relations. We'll get back to our questions with one from the live station chat room. And Dr. Fan, if I could put this to you from Kevin in Canada, who says, how can China expect to become a global financial leader until it floats the yuan? Picking and choosing the parts of the system that suit a particular government simply won't work in the long run.
Well, that's actually show the constraints as a developing country. China only on this developing road for 30 years, and China still have a lot of institutional constraints on this economic power and the financial capability, and the financial reform and opening up is still on the way. And China now, the renminbi is convertible on the current account, but still not yet convertible on the capital account. And the capital account liberalization is a process. It's not overnight. You cannot say, I want to be global leading power. I switch this system to be open, to be liberalized. It takes a lot of institution building. It's a lot of the regulatory framework reforms and supervision reforms, like what we see, how this financial crisis come up, how 10 years ago, Asia financial crisis, and how those crises hit those countries which overshooting on this financial liberalization. So that's a process. And until you finish this process, you become real strong global power. Otherwise, how you expect China would do? China exposed to the global financial risk, which you cannot handle, that's not good for China's development.
Dr. Rosen, as I get to you for a comment on that, let me also ask you, the China central bank head put out a comment saying that he suggests a new reserve currency to replace the dollar as the sort of world standard. To what extent is that an open challenge to the dominance of the US on the global economy?
The points are related because, and this relates back to what we were talking about earlier. What role does China see for itself in the world at this time? We are at an exceptional moment where the basic international economic and financial system that supported China's development, everyone else's, for decades and decades and decades here, is under question. Clearly, there has been over-innovation, is one way to put it, in finance in the Anglo-American world, as we say. But as Fan Gang has said, there's not yet full enough innovation in China itself, back in the home market. So we're having this global debate. What needs to be fixed? What needs to be changed? And on the one hand, China is still holding back a bit, taking the position that China's still poor, still focused on domestic developmental challenges, and that's true. On the other hand, without even intending it, China's weight as a buyer for critical global commodities, including oil, and role as a supplier in many global products, including electronics and textiles and apparel, is just huge. And there are some of Dr. Fan's leading colleagues, like Zhou Xiaochuan, the People's Bank head, out there playing a healthy, provocative role, pushing the U.S. a bit in terms of what needs to be changed, what needs to be fixed. So we sort of have two Chinas on the world stage. And figuring out which one is going to sit at the table where we actually create the regime that will get us where we want to go in the years ahead is, I think, a pretty tough question that remains to be answered.
I've got on the line from the UK, Shaukat. Shaukat, thanks for joining us. What's your question, please?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, Mr. Fan Gang, that your country, China, is it rising too fast for its own good? The reason why I'm asking this question is China builds a massive high-tech city one every month and plans to build 1,000 of these cities, and which will mean lot of migration from people from the rural areas into urban areas. When I look at your neighboring country, Mongolia, capital Ulaanbaatar, where 75% of the youth are on drugs, 85% of domestic households have violence because people have difficulties setting from nomadic life into the urban areas, and same in Australia and in Africa and other parts of the world. And people from rural areas bring in crime, drugs, alcohol problem.
Sure. Let's get Dr. Fan to answer this one. It's an interesting point. The speed of growth of China, is it too fast for its own good? It did recognize this, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, in some sense, it's very fast. But one thing China is different from other countries we should notice is that the rural people has not yet actually merged into the city or not lost their roots in the countryside. They find the jobs in the city. If they can settle down, they settle down. But if they lost the jobs for a certain period of time, they're still able to go back to the village because there is still small piece of land there. Mm-hmm. They are not able to sell the land. They have to keep the land. They can transfer the leasing contract to others, but if they go back, if they lost a job in the city and they go back, they still can claim that kind of the rights, leasing rights back. So that's what recently happened. In the reason that because the financial crisis, 20-some million immigrant workers lost their jobs, and they go back to. In other countries, they maybe become urban poverty, living in slum. Yeah. But now they can go back to the country village because there's still some home there, there are elders still there taking care of the land. So that kind of the social security system.
The structure, yeah.
Yeah, the structure prevent those kind of the worst things to happen.
Has the leadership of China, though, taken into account some of the issues that Shaukat raised regarding urbanization and the problems that occur, such as the issues of poverty and drug and so on?
And that's why the land reform has been conducted this way. It's very careful. The goal is that until we can replace, we can have some alternative social security system for those people in the city. Otherwise, we still keep this land system as kind of the social security for those rural people and the immigrant workers during this process of transformation and development. So from that point of view, we can do more urbanization than others without those urban poverty.
Mohammed's on the line. I'll get you in a second, Dr. Riz. Mohammed's on the line from Germany. Mohammed, what would you like to ask?
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Khan. My question goes to Mr. Gang. I'm from Ogaden originally. Why does the Chinese government ignore the suffering of the Ogaden people and explore the Ogaden oil? Thank you.
So it's Africa, in effect, also China's influence in Africa.
I don't know this issue very much. I don't know how this oil production, and I suspect that there is, because oil company normally pay a lot of the royalties and resource taxes to the local government, local country. So how that income transferred to the people, not if yes or not, it's out of my knowledge.
But it's an issue that's been raised, is China exploiting places like Africa, Dr. Rosen?
And it comes to the previous question, too, a little bit. Has China grown too fast to keep up with the challenges? In earlier times, fast growth in China was a domestic affair. China is inherently a global player today, as we've been discussing. And so the speed, the pace at which China moves internationally, like it or not, interferes in other folks' domestic affairs, hopefully for the better, but not always. One of China's cardinal principles has been that business be business, that there be no strings attached to what its multinational corporations do in Africa, in the Middle East, and elsewhere in Asia, which has some benefits in terms of how quickly you can get projects done and developed. It means you don't have the IMF conditionality or something breathing down your neck from people in Beijing with big ideas about how other people should develop. But it also means that China's foreign ministry hasn't always been able to protect the reputation of China as a pro-developmental partner out there when Chinese corporations, including in oil or aluminum or anything else, go abroad.
A quick thought, Dr. Rosen. Sorry, Dr. Gang, Dr. Fan. The issue of the $1 trillion of U.S. debt that China owns, is there a reduced appetite now for the U.S. currency, considering how things have gone?
I think it's very much a relative question, right? China has dollars by virtue of its success exporting and the interest people have in sending their dollars to China to buy real estate, hot money flows, we call it. A little bit in stock markets through legal channels as well. But the bottom line is there's dollars in China. China can sit on them and earn zero interest, or it can choose something to do with them. And if China thinks that Europe's a better place to put its long-term investments, then it'll trade those for euro and buy euro bonds. At the end of the day, despite the problems here in the United States, profound structural issues, debt issues now, all these things, people seem to be betting that the U.S., though it gets itself into these corners, also knows how to get itself out better than other folks do over the long term.
We've got less than a minute. Dr. Fan, at the beginning of the show, you said it's still very early to look at China as replacing America as the sort of dominant global power. But what do you see the scenario in, say, 20 years from now?
Well, 20 years, China's per capita GDP is still maybe only, say, 5,000, 8,000 US dollars. So still relatively a developing country, a poor country. But definitely China will continue to enjoy this globalization and continue to suffer from the globalization as well. But definitely from this kind of experience, China will be more involved in all kinds of the global issues.
Right.
This phone actually should be really noticed. You know, the world is very complicated, and China is just coming.
Well, Dr. Fan and Dr. Rosen, I want to thank you both for joining us. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us. On the next show, a former CIA official and a veteran foreign correspondent for The Times explores the major misconceptions America has on the Middle East. We'll see you for that next time. From me and the team, goodbye.